Hi folks, today we're going to talk about some good old-fashioned space adventure. In the 1980s, venture science fiction brought together works of SF that were either unpublished in the UK or that were only previously available in hardback. The series was edited by Rog Payton and Rod Milner, and the cover illustrations were all sourced from the back catalogue of Eddie Jones, often recycled, used before on other books, often US editions, and you might recognise one or two of them. They were published by the same publishing house overall, but under different imprints. So the first 9 books were published by Hamlin Paperbacks, and the remainder, with the 2 exceptions, which were published under Legend, under Arrow Books imprint, as we'll see. The editors introduced the series thus: Venture Science Fiction, a new publishing imprint to bring you the very best in adventure, science fiction, time travel, galactic empires, alien invasions, all the traditional elements that have made science fiction the most exciting form of literature of the 20th century. In Venture SF, we'll be bringing you novels of action-adventure, no short stories, although that's not quite true, no fantasy, no boredom. And if action-adventure SF is your type of reading, then Venture SF is for you. Every book published by us will be the first appearance in paperback in the UK. We'll be publishing 1 new book every month, except when they don't. Start collecting them now, they say. So I'm the best part of 40 years late to that particular party. The series ran to 25 volumes in total, although they did stop appearing monthly quite soon after it started. And as we'll see, in at least one case, they didn't quite live up to their promise of them being novels, because there is definitely a short story collection in here, and arguably 1 or 2 others too. The first up is We All Died at Breakaway Station by Richard C. Meredith, and you can see that they've done this trick which eventually sucks in all collectors of numbering them. So this one's number 1. It was actually pretty difficult to find. So let's do a quick anatomy of the covers, actually. They all have the same cover format except the last few, and you'll see the big difference when we get to those towards the end of the series. So this is number 1, and it's also numbered on the spine and the rear. So you definitely know that you're collecting a series. And then they've got the square Eddie Jones illustration and quite a clear title block above that. And they're all pretty consistent in format, except for the final 4 or 5, as we'll see. But even then, on the spine and the rear, they all follow the same consistent format. So I think they look quite smart on the shelf. Anyway, the first book, We All Died at Breakaway Station by Richard C. Meredith, which was originally published in 1969 and it appeared in this series in April 1985. So this is a military space opera, and the tagline on the back of the book is "When race survival teetered in the balance." So in this book, we're in a hospital ship which is full of folks near death, frozen in the hope of recovery once they get back to Earth, and guarded by 2 battered space cruisers. We assume that they died in some form of space battle or invasion or something. But the crew are pretty battered too, and they're all that could be spared for this escort mission. The captain has an artificial brain pan and synthetic eyes, and there are plastic faces and assorted other prosthetic parts. The 3 ships stop at Breakaway Station, which is a vital communications node that's only recently fought off an attack. Many are dead and injured, more popsicles for the hospital ship. And for the bulk of the book, it seems Breakaway Station is under the threat of attack again. It must be defended at all costs. And now we're in sort of last stand territory. So I think we're off to a strong start. That sounds pretty good to me. And I think also it's a really great title. The second book is Come Hunt an Earthman by Philip E. High, which appeared in 1971 originally, but in April 1985 in the Venture SF series. This one was originally published in hardback in the UK for libraries by Robert Hale, but there was no paperback edition until Venture SF came along almost 15 years later. In this book, humanity has been reduced to a game reserve where we are the prey. There are 15-foot aliens from a jaded and decadent galactic empire, and they hunt us for fun. If you're a human, it's a deadly game. But as we know, we are a devious and intelligent and dangerous prey. A prey who is out to get you before you get him. That does sound an awful lot like the plot of Predator, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from way back in the day. But I'm here for it. So I think 2 books in, and we have 2 great titles already. We All Died at Breakaway Station and Come Hunt an Earthman. Next up is Hammers Slammers by David Drake, and this appeared in May 1985. So far we're on the monthly cadence that they promised at the beginning. This one was published by Ace in 1979, and of course this was the first appearance in the UK of what has since become a military science fiction classic. Although, as I hinted at earlier, it did represent a slight contradiction with the aims of the Venture SF series in that it's not a novel, it's a short story collection, albeit there is a consistent theme and characters across the piece. When a planetary government faces threats from guerrillas, from insurgents or terrorists, the men that they hire to sort it out are hammers slammers. They're known throughout the galaxy for their cold, ruthless ferocity, their ability to defeat overwhelming forces, and their willingness to go against impossible odds. This, my friends, is an interplanetary version of the A-Team, if you're old enough to remember those guys. So if you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, then maybe you can hire hammer slammers. Like Joe Haldeman, who, of course, wrote The Forever War, David Drake was a Vietnam vet whose wartime experiences are reflected in the pages. One reviewer on Goodreads says that Drake's battlefield is a full-spectrum sensory overload of an experience. Soldiers bake in the heat radiating from their weapons. They choke on the chemical tang of spent propellant that wafts through their vehicles, and their retinas pulse with blasts of light that devastating attacks burn into their eyes. So as another one, that sounds like exciting stuff, and it is a classic that I really ought to have read. And the great thing is that they're in bite-sized short story form too. At number 4 in the series is Interstellar Empire by a familiar sounding John Brunner, and this one is from June 1985, and we're still on that monthly schedule. Although, as we'll see, that doesn't last for much longer. This one is an omnibus of 3 linked novellas, and I'll be honest here and say that the reviews that I've read of it, for what that's worth, are distinctly mixed. These are stories from the 1950s and 1960s, and he was very much a jobbing author that, if I can put it this way, churned books out. And just as a by the way, it turns out that he was born 10 minutes up the road from me in the village of Preston Crowmarsh in Oxfordshire. In this book, there's a faded human interstellar empire, there are mutants, there are alien relics, there are space pirates, power struggles, evil rulers, and brave rebels. This is the very stuff of space adventure, of the golden age even. Next up is another omnibus, Star Wolf by Edmund Hamilton. And originally from the late 1960s, this contains 3 shortish books by the master of space opera, Edmund Hamilton, who was the husband of Lee Brackett, who herself was no slouch when it comes to space opera. Morgan Chain was a Star Wolf. He was a member of the most infamous band of interstellar pirates in the galaxy. He had flown with raiding packs, rockets screaming to plunder the rich and slaughter the helpless. So far, so exciting, but Morgan Chain was also a Terran, adopted as a child into the Star Wolf clan. And a quarrel erupts and Chain is cast out of the clan, running for his life. But where, in all the galaxy, can a Star Wolf expect to find refuge? That is the pressing question of the day. At number 6 is Star Hunt by David Gerald, and this appeared in August 1985. And this was originally published under a different title, Yesterday's Children, in 1972. And this is a revised version of that story, I'm led to believe. Only an endless space war could have produced the Roger Burlingame. Starships are instruments of total destruction, kept in service long after it should have been scrapped. Light years from Earth, the great starship has sighted the merest glimpse, a quarry almost certain to defeat it in a fair fight. The captain is all washed up, the crew is mutinous, and command passes to a fanatical young first officer. He leads them on what might be a wild goose chase across the galaxy in search of a kill. A star hunt, no less. And this one has been recommended to me more than once, actually, so this is definitely one that I will prioritise as I consider which to read. Or maybe I'll be compelled to read them in publication order, who knows. The 7th book in the series is Sold for a Spaceship by Philip E. Hyatt, and this came out in September 1985. They had slept in safety whilst destruction raged above them, and when they awoke and emerged from their places of refuge, the world had changed totally. For man soon discovered that he was no longer the dominant species on Earth. Now there were other creatures, not only ready to dispute the point, but well prepared to prove it. It was later, much later, that the bulk of mankind discovered that they'd forfeited their birthright, traded their home, the planet Earth, for a spaceship. At number 8 in the series is Run, Come See Jerusalem by Richard C. Meredith, and this one appeared in October 85, having originally been published in 1976. And this is another great title. This is a time travel romp where centuries in the future, New Jerusalem, the former Chicago, rules the world. It's now a repressive theocracy founded by an Alan Howard Dover, and fear is the controlling mechanism. The protagonist is a Eugene Stillman, and he doesn't like this world, but he is nonetheless a law-abiding government time traveller, not a rebel. Until, that is, he meets Melanie. Melanie is a badge-wearing, victorious virgin, all capital V's, and she's anything but. And she introduces Eugene to some forbidden hanky-panky and gives him an idea that could change the world. He could go back in time and prevent the birth of the founder, Alan Howard Dover. So we've got murder, we've got time travel, and we've got changing history. What could go wrong? Ninth in the series is Cross the Stars by David Drake, and this one appeared in November 1985. So I think we can call this one a Hammers Slammers spin-off. Don Mad Dog Slade, a former slammer, veteran of the toughest bunch of mercs ever to roam the galaxy, and he's now headed home to Tethys, a long, hard and perilous journey. Of course it is. The space between is dark and cold. Under his command is a band of pirates who are ready to tangle with anyone and destroy anything that stands in their path. And on this journey, it seems that will mean a great deal of destruction. But the greatest danger facing Mad Dog and his crew is actually waiting for him at home on Tethys. And that sounds very bangy, crashy, a good old-fashioned space opera to me. Before we go on and look at book 10, have you read any of these books? And what did you think? Are you collecting this series too? How many do you have? Do let me know in the comments down below. 10th is Chronicles of the Star Kings, again by Edmund Hamilton. This one, we have quite a jump this time, this one not appearing until April 1996, several months after the previous one. This is another omnibus, it's a 2 for the price of 1, and contains the Star Kings and Return to the Stars. There's some galactic hyperspace, sorcery, some body swapping, hopping forward 200,000 years into the future, and cosmic battles, aliens, and the threat of annihilation. Just another day at the office for a space adventure book. Next up is The Black Collar by Timothy Zahn, and this one appeared a couple of months later in June 1986. And this is one of 5 titles by Timothy Zahn in this series. This one also has vibes of the A-Team about it. In this one, the Black Collars are super soldiers. They are chemically augmented, they have enhanced memory and speedy reflexes. They're special operators, trained to combat an enemy far more powerful and swift than human soldiers. The deadliest men in the history of Earth warfare, apart from maybe Hammer Slammers, who knows. In one last throw of the dice, the Earth Resistance wants to put the Black Collar unit together, if they still exist, and if they can be found. 12th in the series is Space Skimmer by David Gerald, and this time we skip forward 9 months to April 1987 with Space Skimmer, the whole book a month thing having seemingly been kicked permanently into the long grass by this stage. In this book, we have the remains of a fallen interstellar empire with isolated planets, all that remains. Then comes a man driven by a dream of rediscovering empire. But first he must find and control the Space Skimmer, one of the miraculous vessels that made the old empire possible. This is all very well, I hear you, but where are the dinosaurs? And your wait is over. June 1987, seeing the publication of this book, Speaking by Dinosaurs by Philip E. High, which was originally published in the UK by Robert Hale for libraries in 1974. So we had to wait another 13 years before getting our mitts on a paperback copy. A chance visit to a dinosaur display in a museum causes an engineer to question how such a massive skeleton had been able to balance and move. And in fact, he thinks he's proved it's impossible. And this is when his life gets turned upside down. Attempts are even made on his life, and he gets sent back to the distant past, buck naked and unarmed, and he comes face to face with the truth. So that sounds exciting. Another timey-wimey one with dinosaurs. 14th is the Timeliner trilogy by Richard Meredith, and this one appeared in August 1987. And in this book, we get 3 timey-wimey books in one. At the Narrow Passage introduces us to the Krith, who are lizardy aliens who've received a warning from the far future. And in an attempt to change the present and to avoid this dire future, they hatch a plan. Using machines that move sideways in time, a band of dedicated mercenaries and Krith leaders cut a wide swathe through countless timelines. It's a brutal and bloody struggle that has no end until one of their strongest fighters begins to ask questions the Krith would rather not answer. The implications of their meddling forms the basis of the 2 stories that follow: No Brother, No Friend, and Vestiges of Time. At 15 in the series is Cobra by Timothy Zahn, the first of 3 books in this little Cobra series, actually, and this one appeared in October 1987. And the Cobras are a guerrilla force whose weapons are surgically implanted, invisible to the naked eye, but undeniably deadly, and Earth's only hope. They will fight the Troft, not in space, but on the ground, up close and personal. But can they all be trusted? 16th is Assault on the Gods by Stephen Godin, and this one appeared in December 1987. Dev Carell is the captain of a small interstellar spaceship, and she's fought prejudice, both because she's a woman, but also because she's an Owen, a native of a world with an unpopular religion. Now she's fighting the godlike rulers of a backward planet to save not only her crew, but the entire native population as well. Their mission, nothing less than to storm the gates of heaven itself. We're back again with the Cobra Gorillas, the second of the 3 books in that series, and you might recognise this Eddie Jones illustration. I'm pretty sure this one is also on the US edition of Nova by Samuel Delaney, and I'll see if I can put that on the screen to confirm that they match. So we're back with the Cobra Gorillas again, but this time they're fighting with and for the Troft against a mutual danger. A new alien race, ruthless and tenacious, threatening both human and Troft space. And their price for this cooperation? 5 new planets for the Cobras. Another return visit next, and a jump forward of 6 months to August 1988. And we're back with Hammers Slammers, this time a collection of 3 stories, one of which is long, I think that's At Any Price, and 2 shorter stories. 19th in the series of 25 is The Backlash Mission by Timothy Zahn, and this one came out in October 98. We're back once more with the Black Collars, that fearless task force of super warriors. But time is running out. The supply of Backlash, the drug which makes them super warriors, has been used up. The most likely source of supply is in the heart of alien-run territory, of course it is, in a death trap of a mountain, and the Black Collars must fetch it. From book 20 onwards, we get a slight change in the format. It's the same Eddie Jones artwork, but now it takes up the whole of the front page. So in contrast with the earlier books, which had a sort of 2/3 of a page square image, this one takes up the whole of the front page. But the spine and the rear of the books are exactly the same format. This book is The Sky is Filled with Ships by Richard C. Meredith again. And for 1,200 years, the vast organisation that is the Solar Trading Company has maintained intergalactic harmony, giving objective help and protection to Earth and her multifarious colony worlds. And it has held mankind together through 2 bloody battles with the powerful alliance of rebels. But when Starship captain and loyal STC employee Robert Janus uncovers a secret plan for a 3rd rebel uprising, he's surprised to find that no one inside the STC, not even the president, will listen to him. The Solar Trading Company, you see, is riddled with corruption, and it's now more powerful than Earth itself. The rebel forces are gathering, and Robert Janus is the only person who can save humanity from Holocaust. By the time we get to book 21, we're in January 1989, and this is The Torch of Honor by Roger McBride Allen. Faster than light travel has enabled humanity to colonize the stars, and we're governed by the League, capital L, and things are stable. But what's this? 60 young trainees of the Planetary Survey Service have disappeared, along with their instructors and ship, as unknown aliens with advanced weaponry attack the settlement of New Finland. A routine survey mission with young, fresh, qualified crew is all that's available to help. The people of New Finland and those 60 trainees depend on their success. John Brunner again with book 22, Victims of the Nova, and this is an omnibus of the Zarathustra trilogy, which contains Polymath, the Avengers of Carreg, and the Repairmen of Cyclops. A star goes nova, and the desperate survivors are scattered in all directions, some few finding habitable planets. Hundreds of years later, those refugee planets are either forgotten or quarantined. What happens when human colonists meet those refugees? Nothing good, is what I'm guessing. May 1999, and we're with book 23, Cobra Bargain by Timothy Zahn again, the 3rd in the trilogy. The Cobra worlds are settled and the Moreau family reigns supreme, but there's now a new threat. Jasmine Moreau, granddaughter of the original Cobra, wants to become a Cobra fighter herself, but no woman has ever been accepted into the academy. But wouldn't you know it, a project arises for which she alone is qualified. Her mission is to infiltrate the planet Kasama's growing space capabilities. Can she prove the academy wrong? Hammers Slammers again, Counting the Cost is book 24. And this one is a novel, it's not a collection or an omnibus. Colonel Alois Hammer's indomitable armoured brigade attempts to win a 2-front war against an overwhelming foreign foe, whilst protecting the existing civilian power structures against the opposition of religious fanatics. Last in the series is Rogue Powers by Roger McBride Allen, and this one appeared in September 1989, so we're well over 4 years since the first book was published. And this is a follow-up to the earlier book, The Torch of Honor, which was book 21 in the series. The League has vanquished the Guardians, but now the enemy has a new ally, an alien race whose biological weapons are as deadly as they are invincible. So that's all of them, all 25. I'm very happy to have collected all of those. Most of them are in really nice condition. There are a few that I would probably want to upgrade at some point, but I'm very pleased to have the full set, and my next project, I suppose, is to get on and read the damn things. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, bye for now.